photographer, let's say. Got interested in photography through drag racing in 1965. I was only 3 years old at the time. No, I was a little older than that. And just had a blast. A friend who was interested in cars and photography. We shared an interest in cars. He lived next to a investor in a drag strip here north of Kalamazoo, and off we went. Very significant time in motorsport. I'm also a motorsports historian. So, but anyway, that led to one thing after another. My first academic career at a local university here was not that great. So I had an alternative presented to me of enlisting. So I enlisted in the Air Force. They made me a photojournalist, and in their infinite wisdom, sent me to Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is about 50 miles north of Santa Barbara. And I was a photojournalist there for 4 years and just had a blast. Learned a lot, shot a lot, you know, went to Riverside Raceway for you automotive fans, and Laguna Seca all the time and everything. Anyway, so that was fun, learned a lot, and then did a bunch of other things in business, in academia, and finally ended up in a family business, had nothing to do with photography. And at that point, in 91, my dad said he wanted to retire. And I said, you know, I do too. And so we just closed the business up. And at the time I was judging our local uh, snapshot contest. Remember Kodak used to sponsor a snapshot contest, a weekly contest for local newspapers? Well, I was one of the judges with our local newspaper. And they said, gee, you know, now you're not doing anything, would you like to shoot for us? And I said, yeah, you know, if there's something you want me to do, just fax it over. And that turned into almost 20 years of daily assignments. I shot everything for the paper. At the same time, I became the symphony photographer here in town. Done that for, oh, well, 25 years. This is my last year. 25 years of symphony work. I shot for New York Times, the Detroit papers, the Chicago papers, Car and Driver, on and on and on. So all that, of course, came to an end when the newspapers died, and I maintained some good corporate clients and also I just have fun. That's it. I just have fun. And I teach at Norman Camera here in town, which is a very good online camera source, and do a bunch of other things. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I'm a Canon shooter primarily, although last year I bought a Fujifilm GFX 50S that I absolutely adore. And I've got the 32 to 64, the 23, and the 100-200. And we didn't go to California this year. Most of these pictures are from our trips back and forth to California. That's where all the grandkids are. Our one son, 5 grandkids, all in Temecula. So we drive back and forth, see friends across the country, and come home on Route 66. We've been doing that for 15 years. So I was really looking forward to taking the GFX along this year, but it didn't work. So you won't see any GFX pictures here. So without further ado, let's talk about it. Now, I've limited this presentation to 250 miles radius of St. George. I figure that's an easy couple-day photo road trip kind of thing. So we're not going the whole length. I have a full presentation on the entire Route 66 from downtown Chicago to the pier in Santa Monica, and that runs about an hour and a half. So I thought, well, we'll just concentrate on that section closest to you guys. So the idea here is to encourage you to get out and explore it. All right, let's try this. So we're going from Barstow, California to Holbrook, Arizona. And it's a great photography road trip. It really is. What are you going to shoot? Well, you guys look like you're primarily landscape people, but I'm sure there is a mixture of other interests there. So there's a lot of things on Route 66 to shoot. There's landscapes, historical buildings, people, details, all kinds of great details, and aerials as well, because I also have a drone that we've been taking. I've only had it a couple of years, so I've only done a few things on Route 66 with it. and whatever else you're interested in. You're interested in shooting abstracts or nature or whatever, it's all there. It's all there. Now, you might say, well, I'd like to learn more about what's on Route 66. What else can I see? What else is there? You know, I'm a big believer in planning ahead. You know, I have friends who do this spontaneous travel. They'll go to Scotland, rent a car, and just drive out and decide to turn right. Well, that's the stupidest way of traveling that according, you know, in my opinion, that's not too smart. You want to know what's there so you can maximize your time and make sure you see what you're interested in. But so I put together a book every year and we go off and day by day what we're going to see. Anyway, lots of great guidebooks, lots of great guidebooks on Route 66, fabulous books. Just go to the bookstore. You probably still got a bookstore in St. George, and look at them. You know, this easy guide right here on the right, that's probably one of the best. So that's a good way to start. There's also a bunch of websites that really, a variety of approaches to Route 66. So I've just got 4 of them here. This one, the national66.org, that's pretty good. Then there's Historic 66. And these guys, I just found these guys, and they have a turn-by-turn direction for 66, because Route 66, well, something like 75, 80% of it's still there. But in a lot of cases, 40 or 44 or 55 were built over the top of it. For you guys, that would be 40. So even though the states do a great job putting up signs saying historic Route 66 next exit, and then they'll have signs to kind of route you around it. It's nice to know in advance, you know, you're looking for the exit 14, because that's where you get off and get back on 66. So this is pretty good. There's also this one, which is the National Park Service. This one I like a lot. And then this one, which is the Route-66. This one, I think, is my favorite of all of them. I really like this one. Okay. Now there's some other stuff online that you guys probably already know about these. Photograph America. There's a guy who's a retired postal worker in California who does this newsletter online, and he travels and writes it from the viewpoint of a photographer. What is there to photograph? How do you get there? Where is it? What time? All that kind of stuff. And he travels the entire country. And that's a pretty good deal for everything. I mean, he goes, you know, fall in the Adirondacks and everything. So that's pretty good. Be interested in looking at that. There's this one from the Federal Highway Administration. And these are not just Route 66. Believe me, this is everything. Here's one of my favorites, Roadside America, which is, I kind of like the quirky, offbeat, weird stuff. That's what I enjoy. And Roadside America is the site for that. They have it all broken down by city or state and city. So you can go through it once you got your plans, you know where you're going, you can go through and look up stuff, and they will have it specific address. Where is it? Here's the address. Saying put it in the GPS and you're there. You're not driving around, you know, looking for stuff. So Roadside America. Here's one very similar, Roadside Architecture. That's pretty good. And this one, this gets into the quirky stuff. Abandoned America. This is, they're looking primarily at abandoned man-made things. And there's some wild stuff out there. There's some wild stuff. So that one's, and I mean, if you don't want to even photograph it, but it's fun to look at the photographs because people do beautiful work. My God, gorgeous work of, you know, old churches and theaters and schools. Just fabulous. Okay, now photographing from an automobile. This is great. This is my favorite way to travel, the favorite way of getting around and seeing things. I'm not much on a tour guy. I'm not much on a cruise guy. I really don't like to fly, but get in the car and hit the road. That's what I like to do. So car travel, it's very spontaneous. You don't have to be anywhere at any one time. You can stay as long as you want. You can go anywhere you want. You can carry all your stuff with you. You know, you can carry it all. And we'll talk about what I recommend, or at least think is a good idea to take along with you. It's reliable, you know, you get in it, you put gas in it and off you go. And travel styles, you know, kind of put this travel styles, that last point, destination or exploration agenda. Well, I think we all know people who once they get in the car and they know they're going to Detroit, that's what they do. They just go to Detroit. Don't see anything else, get there. Well, as us photographers, we're a little bit more adventurous, a little more inquisitive, a little bit more likely to wander off the path and look at things. But the car works good either way. Here's some tips about traveling by car. Never leave your equipment in the car overnight. Take it with you into the room. Avoid making a show of getting your equipment out of the car, because that might attract unwarranted and uncomfortable interest from people observing you. So in most cases, if you can, have the camera ready to go so you're not fumbling around in your camera bag, deciding what lens to put on it and everything else and loading it up. Try not to do that. Also, when you come back to the car, even if you're going someplace else, just put the camera in the car, close the door, get in it and drive off, rather than stand there after you've been wandering around some site with two cameras and a couple of lenses hanging off your neck. And then you're going to stand at your car with your back to approaching foot traffic while you fumble around putting it away. Not a good idea. Be careful where you park. Park in the light. Park in someplace very public. Always lock your car. And the gear stays with you. Where you go, the gear goes. Your car is a safer place than the motel room. Much safer place than the motel room. So gear goes with you. Here's something. This I think is critically important, because captions. You know, take some notes. Take notes. What did we do today? Where did we go today? What did we see today? What was more important? What did we like the most? That kind of thing. Record your activities by day. Here's something that when we had real journalism, one of the basic principles of journalism, the 5 W's: who, when, why, what, and where. Rather than here's a picture of some lady with her flowers and I can't remember where I shot this. Forget it. And you ain't doing your job. 5 W's. Ask for names. Introduce yourself. Hey, you know, even to the point of asking someone if you can take their picture. But get their names. And pick up literature. So you go to, I don't know, whatever. You go to a national park or something, at the interpretive center, there's literature, pick it up. It'll tell you what you're shooting. Later on at home, as you're writing the captions, you can refer to it. Pick up literature. What gear are you going to take? Depends on the size of your car, really. that CRV, we don't take that CRV anymore. You know, I don't know. Now it's got to be at least the Highlander. So 2 cameras. 2 cameras. Old photojournalism practice. Wide angle and a moderate telephoto. There you go. Plus, if one craps out, you're not completely out of luck. You got something to work with yet. And I say, take all the lenses you got. Take them all. We go to California, I take everything from my 16 to 35 2.8 up to my 600 f4. They all go. Filters, well, certainly neutral densities, um, and even graduated. You guys probably have graduated neutral densities from the work I've seen you guys are doing. You probably have graduated neutral densities and polarizers. Take your speed light. Yep. Monopod, tripod, you bet. Put them in. And if you have a drone, anybody have a drone? No drones? No. Drones are a lot of fun. So if you got it, put it in. Here's some accessories I find useful. Ziploc bags, a black towel. A black towel, what the hell is he talking about? A black towel. Many reasons for a black towel. Number one, you're driving around someplace, you got your cameras there, you're not going to take them apart, put them back together every time you get out of the car, so you leave them in the car. But if you lock the car, leave a camera in there, somebody looks in and sees your camera sitting there, don't they? Even with the tinted windows. Throw a black towel over them. They can't see. Black towel, wipe off the moisture. If it's a little mist in the air, you can wipe off the moisture. You can use a black towel to kind of muffle the sound. If you need to have some kind of a blimp on your camera, use a black towel for that. You can use a black towel to kneel on in case you didn't bring a kneeling pad. So black towel is a good photo accessory. A monocular, that's like 1/2 of a binocular. That's helpful because you got that in your vest, and I wear a vest. I don't care. All the millennials think, oh, that's not cool to have a vest, man. God, you're just some old tourist. Yeah, I am some old tourist, but I like to have stuff convenient. I like to have it where I can get it rather than stuffing it in my pockets. So anyway, the monocular allows you to really quickly say, what's going on over there? What's that over there? Is it worth going over there? Look at it through the monocular. Padlocks, of course, padlock your bag if you do have to leave it at someplace. If you do have to leave it in the motel room, padlock it to the plumbing in the bathroom. Flashlights, I'm a big flashlight guy. I love flashlights. So you got to have some flashlights because it's going to get dark. You're going to be working in there, fumbling around. Get yourself some light. Certainly your chargers. Chargers. Remember to take the chargers. And extra batteries. First accessory you should buy for any new camera is a second battery. And cleaning kit, microfiber towel, an air bulb, never compressed air bulb, maybe a little brush, maybe some lens tissue in case you need that if you're a believer in that. And then in an extreme case, some lens cleaning fluid. And lastly, plastic bag for weatherproof. Cut out the front, stick the lens through it, pull it through, and now you've got a little bit of a rain cover for the camera. If you have more room, a small step ladder. Small step ladder is just terrific. And not really not what you normally think like a two-step step ladder. There are what they call painter's ladders that have a platform, maybe 1 or 2 steps up, and then there's a platform where you stand, and the rung, the frame of the ladder will actually provide like a rail around you as you're standing at the top of it. And that's really excellent, because how many times you get someplace say, God, look at that fence. If I just could get up here another foot, I could shoot over that. Now, so get yourself a small painter's ladder. Kneeling pad, of course, anybody shoot macro, you're going to have a kneeling pad. Or shoot low, shoot sport, you always got a kneeling pad. Reflectors, absolutely. If you're going to buy, if you don't have a reflector now, and you're thinking of one, you want to pop out pretty good size, 32-inch maybe, white on one side, silver on the other. Don't buy white and gold, because remember, light picks up whatever color it bounces off of. So with a gold, you're going to always have gold light, which you may not want. White and silver, white's not as reflective as silver. Silver's more hotter, more reflective, but between the two, you can do a lot. And lastly, an LED panel. LED panel works like fill flash. Usually they're, like that big. And you can adjust the output, and on good ones, you can adjust the color temp. So if you have that color temp app on your phone, measure the scene, dial it up on your LED, and now you've got a little color balanced fill light. Or if you go nuts and have gels for your speed light. Okay, so you're ready to go. What do? First of all, make sure all your batteries are charged. Clean the sensor. Make sure all the equipment works like it should. I say mark your equipment. You got one of those P-Touch labelers or something like that. Put your name on everything. You should have a inventory list of all your equipment, serial numbers, make, model, and you can put as much information as you want, when you bought it, how much you bought it for, whatever, so that you carry that with you. Actually, you make several copies. One goes in the camera bag, one's in the car glove compartment, and one's in your briefcase or purse or whatever. July 7th, 1991, we were in Ostia, Italy, on a 1-month camping trip through Europe. And we stopped in Ostia. Ostia is the first Roman trading town outside of Rome. And I left my bag of $5,000 worth of, and those are $1991, $5,000 worth of Nikon stuff in the van. They broke in and stole it. Came back, it's gone. So we had to go to the local polizei, and luckily I had a list of everything I had. And as I'm talking, and of course the good thing was I had a little electronic translator because nobody in this police station spoke English. So I would type something in, show it to them, they'd take it, type something in, hit the English button and translate it back. There were guys grabbing Uzis off the wall and running out the door as we're standing there talking. And first of all, finally the guys on duty that night said, you have to come back tomorrow because this is such a significant loss. You have to file a more formal report with the commandante. So we did. And I had said to the commandante the next morning, what were all those guys running around? So, they were heading off to raid the known local fence to see if they could find your equipment, but they were too quick. So anyway, make sure you got a list of your equipment and then review everything. Think it through, review it, go through step by step your normal procedure to make sure you've got everything you need. Okay, now you're out. Now you're shooting. Stop and think. Stop and think. What am I doing here? What do I like about this scene? What is it I'm trying to photograph? Okay, think, always think. Have a camera behind your seat. Camera behind the seat. You're driving along. Oh my God, look at that. There's some bison over there or whatever. Okay, let's stop and I'll get the camera out. Yeah, right. By the time you get the camera out, they're gone. Have one right behind the seat. Use your tripod. Use the tripod. Best way to improve your photographs, use the tripod. Keep your equipment clean. Back up your images every night. Back up the images. Shoot manual. Shoot manual. Shoot manual. Check your histogram. Look at the histogram. Shoot. Make sure you're getting what you think you're getting. And of course, take your time. Look how much money you've spent to get to that location. How often are you going to be there? How often? Go to Alaska. How many times are you going to go to Alaska? So you've spent all this money, all this time to get there, and you're going to pop out of the car, shoot a picture, get back in and drive off? Pretty smart. Now, take your time. Get what you're there for. And of course, take notes. We're talking about that. Be aware. Be aware of your surroundings, what's going on. Always be polite, respectful, and make sure people have low opinions of photographers because there's a lot of jerks out there who call themselves photographers wearing their baseball hat backwards. Be polite, be respectful, and be friendly. One thing I forgot to put in here: shoot it when you see it. We're all guilty of driving along saying, oh God, we're going to come back by this way in an hour. That's really neat. I'll shoot it when we come back because I got to get there, right? You done that? I'll bet. Don't do that. Stop and shoot it then, because it's never going to be the same. Never going to be the same. When you see it, shoot it. And last piece of advice, leave behind anyone who isn't a photographer. Have you traveled with people who aren't photographers? Yeah, they're always saying, well, come on, shoot the picture. We got to get going, right? Well, they're destination oriented. Boy, we got to get there. Come on, we're wasting time. We're not getting there. Yeah. So make sure whoever you're traveling with understands you're a photographer. If there is a conflict, it's going to be a miserable trip. Miserable trip. Okay. Now, the stuff we're going to see was shot for my Route 66 presentation. I have a keynote presentation that I give through the Gilmore Car Museum Speakers Bureau and all. And like I say, it goes from downtown Chicago all the way to Santa Monica. So we just took that 250-mile radius from St. George. So let's go. There we are. So pretty easy trip to Barstow, just down 15. And then Barstow to Holbrook. This is the 40 trip. If you stayed on 40, it would only be 6 hours and 32 minutes. Well, I'm recommending you take a lot longer than that to get there. Here's the route of 66 from Barstow to Arizona, and then in Arizona to Holbrook. Here we are in Barstow, neat little high desert town, lots of things to shoot. I'm going to try to show you overalls primarily, because I don't know what you're interested in exactly. So I'm going to show you kind of the big picture, let's say. El Rancho Motel in Barstow, California. You wouldn't want to stay there, but it's very historic. Okay. Route 66 Motel in Barstow. Look at all this stuff. Most of these locations, when you show up, you're obviously not staying there because you just pulled up and got out with your camera and started photographing. Most of these locations, the people who run them, own them, are pretty welcoming. They won't hassle you about taking pictures. There are a few places, but they're posted, private property. But on the section from Barstow to Holbrook, I can't think of any. Once you get into New Mexico, there's a couple places that are a little touchy. But again, be polite, be respectful. This is in Daggett. I like that quote from John Steinbeck. There ain't no sin and there ain't no virtue. There's just stuff people do. And he was writing about Daggett. Little market in Daggett. Here's the Calico Ghost Town. Well, this is a commercial ghost town. It costs you money. They charge an admission to go into Calico, and I'm not big on admissions. So I figure if they're charging an admission, then what they've got in there, they've put some work into. So it's not really that authentic, you know? It's like shooting Disneyland and thinking that's the real life. No, sorry. But it's there. So I'm going east out of Daggett. This is Newberry Springs. This motel from when I shot this picture 2 years ago has been torn down. I believe the sign is still there, but the motel is gone. Right next door, is the Baghdad Cafe. And this was the site of a B movie about these two ladies meeting there. I guess they were stranded from a Greyhound bus trip or something. I don't know. I've never seen the movie, but they, at that time, that cafe was not called the Baghdad Cafe, but the movie was a minor hit, so they changed the name of the place. One of the things you'll notice travel along Route 66 is Route 66 attracts lots and lots of people from across the world. And all of them have stickers. All of them have these labels of their club, the Brussels Harley Davidson Club and whatever else. So they put them up in windows, on doors, on all of these stops along Route 66. This is Ludlow. Here's one of my favorite places, Amboy, California, Roy's Motel and Cafe. This is really one of my favorites. Out in the high desert, you will find these emblems painted on Route 66. You know why they do this? They started painting the emblems for Route 66 on the pavement because people were stealing the signs. So they thought, well, you know, if we can't afford to keep replacing the signs, we'll just paint it onto the pavement. Here's a drone shot. That's looking west. I mean, with a drone, you get things that nobody's ever seen, you know? It's just, I love shooting with a drone. Along 66 heading east near Chambliss is this shoulder that's at an angle, and people, and there's a lot of rock there, a lot of rock, and people stop and put displays or signs together out of the rock. And being an Air Force veteran, I had to stop and shoot this one. All that's left of the Roadrunners Retreat is the sign. That's all that's there. Now we're in Needles, right on the California-Arizona border. Lots of old funky hotel, motel signs. 20 Mule Team Borax, Needles, California. They mined borax west of Needles and brought it in. Here's the old rail station in Needles, California, being repurposed into offices. Then from Needles, Route 66 really gets interesting. It's hard to believe this was at one time a national highway, but it climbs up to Oatman, Arizona. Anybody ever been there? Yeah. Yeah, what a place. Oatman's known for its donkeys. There is a herd of donkeys that comes in town to get fed. They hate dogs. So if you've got a dog with you, don't get the dog out, or the donkeys will attack the dog and try to kill it. So no dogs. But we're driving along, and this is like a mile or two outside of Oatman, and their donkeys are walking down the highway. Here we are coming into Oatman. Oatman's for those of you with Michigan connections, this Oatman, I think, is the Saugatuck of Michigan, of Arizona. It's more of a tourist town than anything else, although it has some interesting things. Here's where Clark Gable and Carol Lombard honeymooned. I think the place probably looked a little better than that when they were here. But okay, now we're heading towards Cold Springs, down out of the mountains, switchbacks, 2-lane switchbacks, real tight. It's hard to believe that this was the way to California. And you know, Route 66 became popular because it was a guy by the name of Cyrus Avery from Tulsa who promoted it as the route from Chicago to Los Angeles. It was more direct, it didn't go over any mountains, and it had better weather than the other routes to the north. So here's Cool Springs, Arizona. Then we go into Kingman. Any Andy Devine fans? Jingles, anybody like Jingles from Wild Bill Hickok? That was Andy Devine. And he grew up in Kingman. In fact, his folks ran that kind of pink motel there on the right. So they named Route 66 going through Kingman as Andy Devine Avenue. I had a chance to meet him. He was a good friend of one of our commanding generals at Vandenberg when I was there, and he would come up for parties. So, and I'd have to shoot, of course. So I always regret not having somebody shoot a picture of me with Andy Devine. That would have been great. I would have loved that, but never thought of it. And Kingman is one of the many towns that claim to be the heart of historic Route 66. They're across Texas into Oklahoma, some in Missouri. They're all the heart of Route 66. Here's an interesting place, Hackberry General Store, Hackberry, Arizona. It's certainly worth a stop. Big Marilyn Monroe in display in the ladies' room. And they cleared out the ladies' room for me to go in and photograph that. I didn't just pop open the door and shoot. So that, and that Cadillac, that Coupe de Ville, man, that Cadillac is amazing. That thing's, that'd be worth a lot of money back here in Michigan. Hackberry General Store. Again, look at the stickers. Little Peach Springs has got this historic gas station. And then there's the Grand Canyon Caverns in on 66. It's a big thing to find old junkers or barn finds, or in some cases where they don't have barns, field finds, and pull them out and park them out in front of all the 66 attractions. And things, interesting stuff like this sedan delivery, 53 Ford sedan delivery. That's a pretty neat car. And here's their putt-putt golf course with dinosaurs and a couple broken down golf carts. I don't think they use those on the putt-putt, but this is Giganticus Heticus, which somebody just made for people to stop and photograph. So I was happy to oblige, and I stopped. Into Slegman. Slegman was where the renovation, the interest in formatting or renovating Route 66 came from. Yeah, Elvis is a big, you'll see a lot of Elvis on Route 66. Elvis is really big. Marilyn Monroe's really big. James Dean a little bit. But Elvis and Route 66. Great tie-in. Delilio's Snowcap. Well, Angel is the guy who started the whole movement to help 66 regain its prominence. And he has a barbershop and this drive-in. Now, you know, Route 66 was the inspiration for the Cars movie. And outside of, well, just on the border of Oklahoma and Texas, and Eric, and though you music fans will remember that Eric's the home of two famous 50s and 60s musicians who happen to be nephew and uncle. The nephew was Roger Miller, and the uncle was Sheb Wooley, who did Purple People Eater. Anyway, in Eric, there's a gift shop, Sand Hills Gift Shop, and the guy there had pictures of the crew that were researching Route 66 before they did the Cars movie. So you'll see a lot of stuff in the Cars movie that was inspired by things on Route 66, like Seligman did Radiator Hot Springs. There's Angel. Unfortunately, I had to use this picture from the Las Vegas Review because every time I stop there, he's either on vacation or sick. So we're going to give him a try next time we go and see if I can get my own picture of him. Into Williams, the last town that was bypassed by Route 66. Here's Elvis again. Harley Davidsons too. Lots of motorcycle references and symbolism on Route 66. It's another pretty cool car. 57 Buick Roadmaster Coupe. Pretty cool. One of the things I'm always interested in are muffler men. You know, the big, tall fiberglass sculptures, big burly guy, originally designed to be holding a muffler for a chain of muffler shops. That was the franchisee had to buy one of these to put out in front of his shops when he signed up. Well, that chain went out of business, so these things are now all orphans, and they're all over the country. There's a website that tracks them. So if you want to start looking up muffler men, you look at their website and I'll tell you where they are. But this one was in Easy Rider. Here's Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda driving by it. This is not a muffler man. This is a wood carving. And those are the colors of the Lumberjacks, which is the athletic teams at Northern Arizona University. Monte Vista Hotel in downtown Flagstaff, where all the stars stayed when they were shooting Westerns in the area. Twin Arrows. This trading post obviously been abandoned, but there is a casino across 40 from this that's called Twin Arrows Casino. And the casino has taken over the maintenance of at least of these twin arrows that are in the ground that mark the spot where the trading post was. So that's kind of nice. And then on to Two Guns, one of my favorite places on Route 66. They used to have stone pits covered with like chicken wire where they had different animals on display. So when you stopped for gas, you could go check out the mountain lions or the coyotes or whatever. And this is just about all that's left. Here's something interesting. I found that picture doing some research. The picture on the left, I found that picture after doing some research the last time we stopped there, and there's a picture I shot. which is almost the same point of view. You see the pits there. This was one of the original bridges across Diablo Canyon. And Two Guns has a really colorful history. There's supposed to be an Indian death cave somewhere in the vicinity and all kinds of stuff. There's the original gas station. Almost looked like some kind of Aztec ruin or something you'd see at Chaco Canyon, doesn't it? Not exactly. And this is an abandoned campground that's really right next door. That's apparently an old KOA. And from what I understand, just this last winter, some squatter on this property tore down the building to the left and used it for firewood. It's an abandoned gas station. A little further down the road, Meteor City Trading Post. Apparently somebody's bought this and is going to restore it. And of course, here we are, all us Eagle fans. I have to promise my wife we'll stop here only every other year, because otherwise I'd stop each time we go by. But there it is. There's a flatbed Ford parked at the curb. There's an eagle in the windowsill up there. And here's a statue of Glenn Frey. Just down the block to the east is the world's smallest church, which is supposed to be the the official Route 66 chapel. And there's these Valentine diners all across Route 66. They were kind of a kit building. They were prefabbed. You'd buy them and assemble them on the site. This one here on 66 in Winslow, since I've shot that picture, has been restored. Here's the La Posada, which was built in 1929 by Fred Harvey. And, Harvey was really a masterful hotel guy. And this was done by a woman architect to look like a hacienda of the 18th century. Very famous Route 66 sign, and here's what it looked like in the Cars movie. Finally, the Wigwam Motel. There are two Wigwam motels on Route 66. One in near San Bernardino, Riverside, California, and this one in Holbrook. And it, of course, made the Cars movie as the Cozy Cone Motel. Lots of interesting motels. If you like that 50s architecture and what they call googie architecture. There's a little box right here. So if you stop and shoot, the guy who owns this would like you to put some money in the box for the privilege of having to photograph his concrete dinosaurs. Holbrook, Arizona. So there, we did it. All the way from Barstow to Holbrook. Now, You're in Holbrook, Arizona. You're coming back into southern Utah. Look at all that's there for you to photograph on the way home. Just think of all that stuff that you can shoot. So there you go. Lots more. But if you got any questions, I'd be happy to respond. Shirley, can you turn on the audio here?
Yeah, everybody will have to unmute themselves, I think. We did have a couple questions. I
Okay.
was wondering if any of the old cars still run.
Most of them don't.
Most of them don't.
No, but you will see vintage cars running along the trip, but most of them that are parked are just parked there to attract your eye.
Okay.
I have a question.
We got one more out of the chat and then we'll open it up. When you go on these kinds of trips, do you make motel reservations in advance or do you manage them along the way?
Well, our secret is we love Drury Inns. And Drury Inns is a chain that's headquartered outside of St. Louis. And we really like Drury Inns because they have what they call the kickback hour from 5:30 to 7, where you don't have to go out for dinner. And it's included in your...
how do you spell that?
Drury.
Brury.
Drury Inns.